Thanks very much, Cathaoirleach. Leader, last week, as we know, was a fantastic week for the Irish horse racing industry. With the success of Cheltenham with so many trainers, Rachel Blackmore becoming champion jockey, and Jack Kennedy landing the Gold Cup. Last week was also a bumper week for the bookmaker industry. Now, unlike other industries who are despondent that their shops are shut, this was a godsend for the bookie industry because it got even more people online gambling on their phone. Now, I raised the issue last month, Leader, of the pending legislative measures being brought forward from Minister Brown surrounding the sector. But what is most necessary is the appointment of the gambling regulator that continues to be stalled. Now, former Armagh GAA and sports correspondent Oisin McConville, himself a man who has suffered from gambling addiction, has spent the last week on RT television and radio highlighting how 1 in 5 teenage boys has an excessive gambling problem. And I paid tribute to RT for carrying these items on the Claire Byrne show and again on Sunday Sport and Radio 1 yesterday. But after Oisin was speaking, the coverage went to the Curragh for the feature race from the opening day of the Flat, won by my own local trainer Noel Meade. And when the race was over, there was a little soundbite to inform the listeners of Radio 1 that coverage of the race in the Curragh had been brought to us courtesy of who? Boyle Sports. Now, you couldn't make it up. And this is why we need to see a regulator in place. The invasive advertising is relentless. But of course, where it is most needed is in the online space. As I said, the large firms had a bonanza last week with everyone going online. Now, I enjoy a bet at things like Cheltenham and the National, so I went online to place a wager. I had the account set up inside 2 minutes. And when the week was over and I went to cash out, here came the issue. Paddy Power suddenly looked for photo ID of me to be sent to them to prove I was who I was to get my money back. So I could have gambled away in my house all week, never wanted a bit of ID for me to give me all the money I had to them, but I went to get my €100 back off them and suddenly they wanted my passport. And of course, my Facebook timeline is now polluted with ads of Paddy Power, and they wonder why 1 in 5 boys in this country have a gambling addiction. As Oisin McConville said yesterday, we've 1950s legislation for an industry that's tearing up the rule book. We need to see the Minister make this move, and I would ask you again, Leader, to request him he comes before the House so that the debate is continued, the pressure for change is continued, and we apply the whip firmly to the bookies before they have made an addict of every young child in this country.